You know that saying that the world is as you see it? Yes, it may seem cliché, but it is the purest truth. The way you see life, opportunities, and even problems determines what you will reap in the future. You've probably heard about growth mindset and fixed mindset, right? Carol Dweck, a famous psychologist in the United States, hits this point a lot. She found that those who have a growth mindset, that is, those who believe they can improve with effort and dedication, tend to excel much more than those who think they were born this way and will die this way. Life can give you 1,000 reasons to give up, but it's your head that will decide whether you're going to dance to the music or change the melody. And look, changing your mindset can start with small steps. Just imagine waking up tomorrow and, instead of thinking, "Oh, this isn't for me," you start to wonder, "What can I learn from this?" This small change of perspective already changes the game. Suddenly, that problem that seemed like an insurmountable wall turns into a staircase full of steps to be climbed. Is it work? For sure. But each step achieved is a learning experience, and in the end, the view from the top is worth it. The secret here is to understand that no one is born ready. The big move is to allow yourself to be shaped by experiences. So, let's look at the challenges with a new look. So, did you feel the call for a transformation? Here's the thing, if you really want to change your life, you need to stop focusing on what you have no control over and start paying attention to what is within your reach. And here's a practical tip, start with something simple. Pick up a book like Mindset, The New Psychology of Success, by Carol Dweck herself, and absorb every page like it was pure gold. Change doesn't come overnight, but I guarantee you that results start to appear faster than you imagine. And you know what's coolest? When you change your mindset, you not only transform your life, but you also become an inspiration to those around you. Let's talk about resilience. This little word that, for some time now, has become fashionable. But here, we're not talking about just any fad. Resilience is that kind of thing that separates those who go from half-assed to mountaintop. And look, it's not always easy. What few tell you is that, on the journey of being resilient, you will stumble, fall and, sometimes, even want to give up. But this is when the game really begins. It's easy to stay strong when everything is going well, but true resilience appears when the boat is sinking and you decide you're going to swim until your last drop of energy. Think about the following. How many times in your life have you heard a "no" that knocked you down? Or how many times have you felt like you couldn't overcome a loss, a betrayal, or a failure? What if I told you that these situations are exactly what you needed to become a better version of yourself? Well, everyone says that resilience is like a rubber that stretches and comes back, but I tell you that resilience is like a rubber band that never returns to its original size. With each challenge overcome, you expand. You grow up and never go back to what you were before. Are you looking for self-help talk? Calm down, because this is pure reality. It's not about romanticizing pain, but about understanding that it is in adversity that we learn the value of internal strength. The tip is, when the animal catches you, don't run away from the fight. Accept, adapt, and overcome. Pick up a book like Man's Search for Meaning, by Viktor Frankl, which shows what it's like to find purpose in even the darkest moments. That's what resilience is, finding meaning in the midst of chaos. And the sooner you understand this, the sooner you will see that life is not against you, it is trying to teach you to be stronger than you ever imagined. When was the last time you allowed yourself to be vulnerable? And calm down, I'm not talking about exposing yourself for no reason, but recognizing that we don't always need to be strong and invincible. In the United States, and in many places, there is a culture that worships strength and despises fragility. Brené Brown, a world-renowned researcher, challenges this view in her book, Daring Greatly. She states that vulnerability is not a weakness, but rather the origin of courage. The truth is that real courage only appears when we show ourselves with our chest open, ready to be who we really are, without masks. Let's think together, how many opportunities have you missed for fear of appearing weak? Maybe that sincere conversation you never had with a friend, or a dream that was kept because you didn't want to look ridiculous trying. That's what vulnerability is, taking risks, showing your wounds and understanding that, in doing so, we also open doors to true connections. Look, I'll tell you that it's scary at first, but there's nothing more freeing than embracing your imperfections and still having the courage to move forward. Want a practical example? Start with small actions, like asking for help when you need it or admitting you don't know something. These small steps are already huge. Do you know what's most interesting? By allowing yourself to be vulnerable, you not only grow as a person, but you also become a magnet for authentic people. Everyone is looking to truly connect, but few have the courage to take the first step. So, what are you waiting for? Leave the armor aside and allow yourself to live more genuinely. And if you need a hand understanding more about this, Brené Brown's book, Daring Greatly, is a great starting point. It goes deep, Because when you learn to embrace your vulnerability, the world becomes a much more welcoming place and full of possibilities. Abundance mindset, have you ever heard of it? Here's one of those game changers that can completely transform the way you look at life. And no, it's not cheap self-help talk. Having an abundance mindset means believing that there is enough for everyone and that someone else's success does not take away from yours. While many people out there are focused on lack of time, money, or luck, those who develop an abundance mindset are always focused on what they have, what can be created, and how they can grow together with others. It's about seeing the glass as half full, you know? And, my friend, that changes everything. Just imagine, instead of thinking that there isn't enough for everyone, you start to realize that success is contagious. How about stopping seeing other people as competition and starting to see them as inspiration? Now that is liberating. You stop holding on to the idea that you need to hold everything together tooth and nail, and you start to realize that sharing and collaborating is the real secret to thriving. You know that old American saying, sharing is caring? Well, he was never so true. A practical example of this is conscious networking. Instead of seeking immediate advantages, you create relationships based on mutual exchange and genuine support. When you operate with an abundance mindset, you unlock a new way of living. You start to believe that everything you need is already around you, you just need to see it. And to do this, start slowly, make a gratitude diary, where you write down all the good things you already have in your life. It may seem silly, but by training your mind to see what you already have, you make room to receive even more. And here's another golden recommendation. The book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, by Stephen Covey talks a lot about this mentality. It gives you a practical step-by-step guide on how to incorporate this worldview. Trust me, once you experience this change, there's no going back. Let's be real, no one wants to face suffering. We run away from him like the devil runs away from the cross. But, have you ever stopped to think that, sometimes, it is exactly in these moments that life shows you what you are capable of handling? I'm not saying that you have to embrace suffering and love pain, that's not it. What I'm talking about here is that, when things get complicated, you have two choices: close yourself in the cocoon of, why me, or open yourself up to, what can I get out of this? Viktor Frankl, the guy who wrote Man's Search for Meaning, knew exactly what he was talking about. He lived through the horrors of the Holocaust and yet found purpose in the midst of that hell. Now, imagine if he had given up right away? The reality is that suffering is an opportunity disguised as a problem. Have you noticed that it is in the most tense situations that we end up discovering a strength we didn't even know existed? Like, that moment when you lose someone or something you love and you think you can't take it anymore. But then, day after day, you discover that you can put one foot in front of the other. And when you look back, you realize that it was precisely this pain that gave you a new perspective on life. You know that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger? So, that's it. Suffering may be the cruelest teacher, but, my friend, it is also the one that teaches the most. So, let's do a mental exercise? The next time life trips you up, before you fall into victimhood, take a deep breath and try to ask yourself, how can this make me a better person? We cannot control what happens, but we can choose how to react. If you need a little push, pick up Frankl's book and see how he turned pain into purpose. And here's a hot tip: start seeing your story as a narrative of overcoming. Because at the end of the day, everyone likes a good victory against adversity story, and no one can write yours better than you. There's something that everyone talks about, but almost no one actually does: being grateful. And I'm not talking about that superficial gratitude of posting a photo on social media saying, grateful, with a pretty caption. I'm talking about that real gratitude, that we feel in our chest, you know? The one that makes you stop and think, wow, look at how many good things I have in my life. And you know what's craziest? Science is full of studies showing that people who practice gratitude live better, have less anxiety, less stress, and, surprisingly, even sleep better. Who would have thought that something so simple could do such good damage, right? And I'll tell you something, starting to practice gratitude doesn't have to be complicated. How about starting with a notebook in your drawer, where you write down, every day, 3 things you are grateful for? And it's not worth writing anything anyway, it has to be specific, like, I'm grateful for the warm coffee that gave me that hug first thing in the morning when I needed it, or, I'm grateful for my son's sincere smile today, which it made me feel like I was on the right path. It doesn't matter what it is, what matters is feeling. And, look, when we start doing this, it seems like life takes on a different shine. It's as if we were exchanging dirty glasses for clean ones. Suddenly the colors become more vivid. Want an easy way to get started? Take a look at The Gratitude Diaries by Janice Kaplan. She did a gratitude experiment for a year and the results were impressive. She realized that, even on the most difficult days, there is always something to be grateful for. And you know what's coolest? When we start to see things this way, it seems like the universe starts to conspire in our favor. So, let's stop just complaining and start seeing what's already good? Because, I'll tell you, when we give thanks, life gives back double. You can believe it. Have you ever stopped to think that, sometimes, we wait for that big change, that magical moment that will change everything, and end up overlooking the small actions that really make a difference? Well, the truth is that life is made up of details. You know that story about the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step? That's exactly it. And, look, it is often these small, almost imperceptible daily actions that shape our future. It may seem silly, but what you do today, even if it's a tiny step, will define where you will be tomorrow. Think with me, instead of wanting to change everything at once, how about starting with small habits? Like, instead of promising to wake up at 5 a.m. every day, why don't you just start by getting up 10 minutes earlier tomorrow? Or, instead of cutting out all the junk food from your diet at once, how about choosing a meal of the day to be healthier? Does this seem more real to you? These small changes are easier to maintain and, in the long run, make a huge difference. And I'll tell you a secret, the feeling of progress, even if small, is addictive. Each step you take motivates you to take the next one. And, my friend, that's how great results come. It may not happen overnight, but they appear. Whoever plants a little every day, reaps a lot later on. Want a practical example? Take a look at James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. It is a perfect guide for anyone who wants to understand how small changes in everyday life can lead to giant transformations. And, to top it off, he teaches you how to create systems to keep you on the right path. So how about you stop waiting for a big miracle and start doing the little things you know you can do today? Because, well, it's the small steps that create great journeys. You may have heard that saying, tell me who you hang out with and I'll tell you who you are. And, oh, I'll tell you that this is much more than a cliche. It's pure truth. The people you surround yourself with have an absurd impact on your life, your decisions, and even your way of seeing the world. You know that friend who keeps complaining about life, that nothing goes right for him, that everything is difficult? Well, that kind of energy is heavy. Believe it or not, negativity is contagious. Now, imagine the opposite, being surrounded by people who encourage you, who push you up and who show you that you can always go further. The difference is brutal, right? So, it's time to take stock. Who are the people you have around you? Do they boost you or pull you down? And look, this doesn't mean that you should simply cut ties, but rather seek to be close to those who make you want to be better. It's that story, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you're around someone who only complains, it's difficult to see a different future. But if you're around someone who is always looking to improve, the energy is different. And the impact of this is huge. And you want to know? You can start right now. How about looking for groups, communities, even online forums where people are looking to grow? It's a way to exchange ideas, get tips and, as a bonus, make new friends that can change your life. And if you need a little push to understand the value of good company, take a look at the book, The Power of Who, by Bob Beaudine. He talks about exactly that, how your circle of friends and acquaintances can be the key to your success. So, what are you waiting for? Start choosing better who is in your circle, because, at the end of the day, no one gets far alone.